If you've been to a Trees for Houston giveaway, you're familiar with the size tree that we give out. This is a 3-gallon tree, and this is actually a bald cypress, which is a water-loving species. So we get asked pretty often, how long would I water something like this? We've already gone over the established tree, but if I were to plant a 3-gallon tree, it doesn't need quite as much water as a established tree. However, when you recently plant a tree, I'd say in the first 3 months, that is the most crucial time for soaking in your tree. So you are going to give it a little bit more water than you think you should. So what I really recommend is when you plant this tree, soaking it in, remember how we talked about the roots and about how far they go out. Because those roots haven't grown out, too far in the ground here, you're going to still water it, not at the base of this tree. You're still going to come out a little bit to water that tree. And I'd soak it in for a good 5 to 10 minutes for only the first couple of months, maybe 2 to 3. Given you're planting this in the proper time, which is November to March for the Houston region, you're going to get a lot of extra rain that's going to really help you out. So you don't necessarily need to do it, every other day or every day like that, but maybe 2 times a week if you're planting in the fall, in the winter months to water this tree. If you are going to plant this in the late spring, I really recommend doing a good soaking every 2 to 3 days for that 10 minutes on a newly planted tree. If you are going to keep your tree in the bucket and you're going to grow it out and you want it to get a little bit bigger, maybe the root ball needs to be established a little bit more, you can water it in here. And I would say doing the same thing that you would if you were to put it into the ground. Watering this for about 5 minutes, 2 to 3 times a week. Because remember, these trees came from a nursery where they were getting water 3 times a day. So you kind of want to keep up with that, maybe wean them off a little bit, but definitely making sure you're keeping them properly watered in here, but also making sure you're still watching out for those signs of over and under watering. I see most commonly with trees staying in their pots, root rot being the biggest thing. And root rot's caused by overwatering. And so remember those signs. Browning of the leaves. Also, if you've noticed your tree really isn't growing much, maybe that could also be signs of root rot as well. If you're like, oh wow, I've kind of had it in here for about 3 or 4 months, I haven't noticed any growth. Let's look at how long we've been watering that tree. Maybe you're watering a little too much. A trick to kind of tell if you need to water your tree or not when it's still in the bucket, you can use this method when it's planted in the ground. It doesn't work quite as well because you're going to have a lot more of that natural earth soil mixed in here. But whenever you still have it in the pot, it's kind of like when baking, when you stick the toothpick, but a little bit of the opposite. So I have this marker here. I'm gonna just stick it in there a couple of inches just to kind of see. Now if I take this marker out and it's got a bunch of soil and all of that good mulch stuck to it, it's properly watered, there's enough. We don't need to water this guy for another day or 2. But if I take it out and it's completely clean, it is bone dry in there, and this desperately needs some water. So let's take it out and see. So this one came out. It's got a little bit of soil here. Not a lot on the sides here of this pen. This tree I can kind of feel in there and tell it's not super wet down there. It's coming out on my hands, but this tree could definitely be watered. I'd probably only water this for about 5 minutes, and then in about 2 or 3 days check back and see where we're at. So when I water this tree, I like to take it all the way around and make sure I'm really soaking all the top of that root ball. But these pots do have holes at the bottom, so you will see the water running off. This is all excess, but you want to make sure that you are still properly hydrating all that mulch, even at the bottom, so you can see how it's pulling here on top. What I like to do is take away the hose for a moment just to see how long does it take for that water to sink. So it kind of held there for a second, but then it quickly absorbed all of that water. So let's do it again and see how we do. Yeah, it's just really, it's taking that water down fast, so this tree's pretty thirsty. And remember, we do have a bald cypress here, and he likes to have quite a bit of water. All right, let's see how fast. All right, so you see how it's holding it there a little bit longer? It's holding those pools of water a little bit longer. So I'd say this tree is about good.